So today for lesson 6 on getting to know your mySewnet software, we are going to be doing the Express Design Wizard on the Create tab. I have to say this is not one of the parts of the software that I actually like. I think it's I just don't think it does a good job. And don't get me wrong, I have professional grade embroidery software, which is above and beyond what mySewnet can do. And I will tell you right now, their quick express design isn't great either. I don't I don't like this feature. It makes people think that digitizing is easy, and it's not. To get a really good, crisp project or design, it takes work and effort, and it's not quick. And it's definitely not express. I will say this though, with the mySewnet, one of the features is that you can take what the Quick Design Wizard did and put it directly into digitizing. I do like that because it does do a lot of the parts that are pretty easy, and then you can fine tune it in the digitizing module. So I give it to mySewnet. That in and of itself, I love it. It's a great feature that they added, and I like it. Before it was just what it was. You couldn't really do a lot of editing. I'll show you a little bit of editing using Modify, but they did make it so that you could insert that directly into the digitizing module and make big corrections. Love that. It does make it a lot nicer, and you can get a really good product using that Express Design Wizard in combination with digitizing. Now, I will say that if you have a line drawing, you'll see in this lesson that it does work really well. It's just those more complicated designs, like so many people want to do logos. That's not easy, and I'll tell you, I have never seen a logo turn out well with the Express Design Wizard. So let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to open our mySewnet software, and we're going to double click on embroidery. Once that opens, give it a minute. We're going to go to blank canvas. We can do express design from right here, but I'm going to go ahead and do blank canvas. I'm going to set my hoop. I'm going to leave it at the 120 by 120 and say okay. All right, so here we are ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and click on that create tab, and we're going to choose express design. Express design has two options. You can do it into the hoop or into a rectangle. If you do it into a rectangle, you basically just draw a rectangle onto your screen inside your hoop and it goes. In the hoop is what I generally choose just because it's a lot, it just makes more sense. So we are going to do express design into hoop. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And the first one we're going to do is full on express or create express embroidery. So that creates a full filled picture. So we're going to hit next. We're going to go to load picture. Oh, I meant to say this before we started. If you did not, if you didn't install your samples, do go install your samples right now. Pause the video and then come back because this is where I'm grabbing this from. And generally, I want to say that they should be in documents, mySewnet, and then samples again. And then we're going to do digitizing pics and double click or click on that once. Okay, so we're going to go back through that because that's a lot. Okay. All right. So once your samples are installed, you're going to go to Documents, mySewnet, mySewnet samples. So mySewnet, samples, samples again, and then pics, and just click on it. And that's going to pull up some pictures that we can use. This makes it a little easier than me trying to have you go onto the internet and find one where I'll be working on the same picture if you want to follow along. Okay, so we're gonna pick this little nesting doll right here. She's really cute. I have actually done her before. I did her on this little thing. However, I digitized her from scratch, not from using the wizard. So we're gonna go ahead and say okay. And there's our little nesting doll. Once we are back on the screen, we're gonna hit next. And you can crop down if you want. Since the background's white, it really doesn't matter too much, but we'll make her a little bit bigger and then say next. We're going to leave our hoop as it is and say next. Okay, so this did pretty good. Came up with 8 colors, which obviously you see. Now her lips and her mouth or her cheeks, they're this weird color, but it's okay. It is a separate color. It's showing it, it sees it, it's just showing it as a different color. You can change that and we will. All right, so if you notice it says remove background only, that's going to remove that white. And this is a default. We're going to go ahead and say next. Oh, and don't worry, I'm going to show you how bad things happen. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about, how I don't really care for the way it looks. So the little headscarf is pretty good. It's got a little flaws, but pretty good. And the little body's pretty good. And even the flowers turned out halfway decent. Notice that one of the leaves is a satin and the other 3 are fill. It has this weird partial stitch outline, but it isn't everywhere. So it's very weird to the eye. If this would have been all over the design, I would have said okay, but it's just random. And that to me is poor. It doesn't look good. If you adjust this, it will start adding things with satin. So we did get the 4 leaves to now be satin with just a little bit. Her mouth went satin, and I believe maybe her eyes went satin. Not 100% sure, but those eyes have got to go. You can see a bigger jump if you move it up higher. Then her cheeks definitely went satin. Her mouth went really satin, and her eyes did as well. And all the centers of the flower just did. We're going to move that back down to the first one and refresh the preview. And that's going to clean that up a little bit more. And that's going to at least leave all the leaves matching. I don't like that they didn't match. Okay, we're going to go ahead and say finish. That's going to put our nesting doll into our hoop. She needs some help. She's not pretty. She's looking a little hard. So first thing we can do is we can make some minor modifications. And the way we do that is we click on the modify tab. This is going to say this will fix your stitches as an embroidery stitches. Do you wish to continue? I'm going to say okay, but I do want to point out once I do this, I can no longer take her into the digitizing module. We're going to use a different one of the nesting dolls to do that. So, but I did want to say that if you want to take your design into digitizing, do not fix as stitches. But I'm going to say okay because that's not what we're doing right now. All right, so here we go. So there's this weird color. So you've got doubles of colors and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we know that this blue color looks good. We're going to go ahead and uncheck that because that looks good. This green color looks good. Let's go ahead and uncheck that. All right, white. White is this color in here. I hope you guys, let me change my background real quick. Hold on, file. If you ever need to do this, it's file configure, and then under appearance, just change your background. I'm gonna choose this color. Okay, not that I recommend using this color or anything because I don't, but for what we're doing, it's gonna pop that white out so you can see that, and some of those colors you can see a little bit better. Okay, so we want to remove that white because that white looks good. This cream color, if you hover over it, it's going to tell you it's her face. And we're going to go ahead and uncheck that because that's good. These are her cheeks, so we're going to uncheck that. This is her hair, we're going to uncheck that. The red for the flowers and her eyes. Okay, everything else that you see left here is basically that weird lining, and we don't want that weird lining. So we're going to do select all visible. Now I will tell you the first time I did this, they did not separate the colors out. They were actually combined with one another. So that may happen to you. It really just depends. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and delete those colors off, and those weird stitching went away. So we're going to go back to the home screen real quick, and there she is looking at least a little bit better. Now there is that green line right there, so we need to go get rid of that as well. So we're going to go back to the Modify tab. It's really hard to see in the Modify tab, and you can't really change the view of this. So sometimes you have to switch between Home and Modify. Unfortunately, it re-puts back all your selections. But we know that it's that green color, so we're going to go uncheck every color except for that green. All right, now this is all we want to remove, so we're going to choose Box Select, and we're going to draw a box around that, and it's basically click and hold and drag, and that puts the box, and then we're going to go ahead and delete that. That's going to get rid of that weird line that there was, and then we can go back to the Home tab. Okay, well here she is, your nesting doll done with Express Design Wizard. I have to say she turned out better this time than she did the first time I tried her. So sometimes it's just a little bit of tweaking. I will point out a few things that our software did go ahead and do, and that is it did turn all of the leaves to that satin line when we moved it up, or I'm sorry, satin fill. Her lips are going to be a satin fill. And then this flower is a satin fill. I want to say one of her eyes is. I can't tell though. Nope, they're both pattern fill. So we're going to go ahead and shrink that back down. Okay, but here's our little Russian stacking doll. And if you found her agreeable, you could go ahead and stitch her out. A few things that I don't like are her eyes. Her eyes drive me nuts. I think I could live with her cheeks, but her eyes are just really bothering me. They're just two different sizes. We could actually, let's go back to Modify. We'll do something real quick. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and uncheck everything except for her eyes. Okay, I like this eye on the right. This eye on the right is a good eye. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say box select, and I am going to draw a box around that, and I'm going to copy it. Okay. And then this box, or this eye on the left, oops, I am going to delete it. Bye-bye eye. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the Home tab. And you might be like, well, why didn't I paste it? It kind of combines them together, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that eye, and I'm going to drag it over here. And then I am going to zoom in on the eye. Okay, so now I'm really close. And I'm going to mirror the eye because it has that little point. Well, I want that point to be on the other side. And then I'm going to just move that eye into place. Okay, so let's zoom out again. Oh, so much better. So let's do that with her cheeks as well. Well, I think her cheeks need to go down a little bit. I wonder if we have any playroom with that. So let's go back to Modify. Oh, and it doesn't take her eye in because I didn't combine them. So let's go back and combine them because she looks like she only has one eye. Let's go ahead and we're going to combine, and we're going to combine all. That's going to put that eye back. And notice now that we have two blacks, but we can go ahead and do color sort, and that's going to put those blacks together. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go back to Modify, and I'm going to try to move her cheeks down. So we're going to uncheck everything but her cheek color. Oops. Wrong one. There we go. Okay, there's her cheeks. Yeah, they look pretty good. Okay, so we are going to take the first cheek, and I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to paste it. And then I'm just going to move it down just a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in. Okay, I like that. All right, I'm going to do the same thing, uncheck everything again. And I'm going to draw a box. And I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to paste it. And then I'm just going to move it down slightly away from her eye. Okay, let's go to the Home tab. Zoom out. Okay, now there's this weird line right here that is a drag line. It doesn't actually stitch. Okay, so her cheeks are now off of her eyes. And let's go ahead and go back to the Modify tab. This one, let's see. Let's zoom in and make sure that actually looks like it is an actual stitch line. So we're going to select stitches and delete. Oh, that didn't work. Undo. Okay, so sometimes this is what happens when you paste on the main screen. Okay, so we're going to select stitches and we're going to drag this back into here. There we go. All right, now that should be okay. Now we're going to go. There we go. Now it's gone. Okay, so now I've moved her little cheeks down a little bit so that they're a little bit better. They're still combined. When you do them on the Modify, it does automatically combine them. When you do them on the Home tab, they separate them. So if I wanted to have made changes prior, it's a little easier to adjust. But I like it. We are going to go ahead and do color sort again. And we're going to change this to the pink that it should be. Yeah, that's a little bright. Let's try maybe this one. There we go. Okay, guys, so she actually looks fairly decent now. I will say that, you know, going through the Modify, getting rid of some of that, she looks decent. Would I say she's great? No, I see a few flaws, but for the most part, she's pretty good. So it did take a little work, but we did it and we were able to do it inside of just our standard software without having to go into our digitizing module. So if you liked her, you would go File, you would do your export, you would choose what format and say OK, and then you would export her and save her where you want her. I obviously am not going to save her, but she turned out pretty good. You know, it did take some work, but she did. All right, so let's delete her. Next victim. All right, express design into the hoop. We're going to go next, load picture. Okay, now I'm going to show you a design that doesn't work. Or at least in my opinion, it doesn't work. So we're going to go ahead and choose that bicycle. Say okay. We are going to say next. We're going to crop that to that gray. I wish they wouldn't have put the handlebars so far to the top on this design, but whatever. Move that out a little bit. Say next. I am going to change my hoop. I am going to increase my hoop for this one. I am going to do 180 by 130 and rotate it. Say okay. And then say next. All right. First off, it comes up with 22 colors. 22 colors for this bicycle is not, in my opinion, needed. I don't really understand the 22 colors, but it seems to like 22 colors. So first thing we're going to do is notice that there is still background. So we are going to do remove all background areas. And that's going to go and take that out of those spokes and wheels. All right, again, I said 22 colors is not acceptable. I visibly see black, red, white, light gray, blue, and yellow. I physically see 7 colors. I might go 8. So we're going to go and we're going to change this to 7 colors and say apply. Okay, so it did something really weird. It changed the center of the flowers to red and made the flowers themselves gray. So let's go up another one to 8, say apply. That at least gives us our blue back. So now we have every aspect of the design. We have the red bike, the white accents, the black, and the flowers. Even though the centers are blue or red, we can change that. So I'm not too worried about that. Um, I let's try 9 and see if it'll bring the yellow in. It doesn't. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're up to 16 colors and it still hasn't brought that red in or that yellow back in. So we're going to drop that down to our 8 and say apply. That at least gives us a good start. And we're going to go ahead and say next. This doesn't really matter, guys, because this looks terrible. This is in no way acceptable, and I don't think that the modify module would even begin to touch this, how bad this is. You've got different kinds of stitching. You've got a mess. We can try maybe upping it a little bit and trying it again and see if that does make it better in aspects. The wheels definitely look better. The tires, the flowers look worse. This looks worse. So let's drop it down to 1 less and see if some. Okay, we got close. We got close. I still would not in any way, shape, or form stitch this out. And I really don't know what this is up here. It sees things that other people you just don't see. Um, but it did get better. It did get better. It did at least leave the wheels as the satin stitching and went back to the flowers and the little tray as pattern fills. So it's not horrible. I still don't think I would attempt to do this one, even taking it into the create module or to the digitizing module. I don't think I would do it. It's just not good. Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to load another picture. So we're going to click on that load. We're staying with that thing. Okay, so now we're going to do this little, let's do her. I did her earlier and she turned out okay. She had this really weird thing with her eyes, but we'll do this little one in yellow. We're going to say, okay. So there she is. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to hit next. And we're going to go and do her crop lines. So we are going to crop her pretty close. Oops. All right, once she's cropped pretty good, go ahead and say next. We're going to change our hook back to that 120 by 120. And say natural, say okay. And then we're going to hit next. Okay, here she is. And there's 13 colors. That's pretty good. I can see 13 colors. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep. So 13 colors it is. So it's her background's removed. Everything looks good. We're going to hit next. And there she is. She actually didn't turn out horrible. She would actually be a really good candidate to take into digitizing. The reason I say digitizing is because some of the aspects of her are a little wonky. Let's see if we do this. It'll clean her up. Oh, I think that made her look worse. Let's move. Let's take that back. Okay, that's better. All right. So she is decent. She could definitely be worked with. Um, I would not leave her like this. I would definitely not leave her like this. But we can go ahead and we're going to say finish for her. And here she is. So let's point out some of the things that are easy to fix for her. Her cheeks, let me zoom in on this so you can see what I'm talking about on her cheeks. Well, that did not do well. Okay, well, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, do you see this weird like indent? To me that shows, and then you can kind of see some white in there. Anyway, this to me shows that these cheeks are not actually going to fully cover where the hole for the cheeks is taken out. Her lips are a little wonky. We can't fix that and modify. We can't enlarge her cheeks and modify. We can get rid of this weird blue. We could just take this off. I know it's her little eyeshadow. We could get rid of some of that. We can't turn it to pattern fill though. This one right here is satin fill. I don't like that. It should be pattern fill all across the board. Not to mention it should be stitched out. It looks like this is on top of this orange. That's not correct. You can see the green through the orange. That's not good. This is a satin, not good. There's just a lot of things that are just off. So what we can do to create these off areas is we can take her into the digitizing module. I am going to show you the digitize module and show you a couple of things. I'm not going to go into full on digitizing and correcting a lot about her. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to simply right click on the film strip, step 1 in the film strip, and we're going to go into edit and digitizing. Leave that sign, don't say anything. I'm going to maximize my screen. Okay, all right, so here she is. Now, this is the digitizing module. Notice that our film strip now has lots of pieces, lots and lots of pieces. Each piece can be edited. So pattern fill, notice when I do that, it changes all these white. And you can see that it goes into the orange a little bit, which is a good thing. That gives us that overlap. But this color right here, see how it's over her face. Hold on. See how it's over her face? This should be stitched out underneath her face. So the stitch out order in this instance is not necessarily correct. And that's this one right here. So we are going to take this, and let me see where her face is in the lineup. Her face is down here. Where's her face? There it is. So why they did that is because her random little eyeshadow thingies, oops, try that one. This eyeshadow stitches out after the stitch out. So it can get kind of confusing. But I know I want this, and we're just going to move all this real quick. And we're going to move this up here. So it stitches out before her face. Okay. See, that corrected that issue. Now we have the issue about her eyeshadow. The eyeshadow could stitch out the same time as this does, or this eye does, because they're separate. But how would I know that? So I would simply hit box select, and then I would click on her eyeshadow. So I'm going to click off real quick. And I'm going to draw a box around her eyeshadow. Okay, when that did that, it grabbed this little tiny portion, but it showed me where her eyeshadow is. So if I choose this one and hold down my control key, I've now selected all of these. And these need to go down and stitch out with the other eyeshadow. So I'm just going to put the whole section underneath that and let go. Okay. Again, this is not something I like. or something that I would do. But I think the black needs to stitch out over that as well. So I'm going to take this and all of everything that's black, which is missing an eye, and I'm going to move this underneath. Right. Okay. So to me, that's a little bit better. This is definitely corrected, which is a lot better. Now let's address this being weird. This is satin area. I don't like that as satin area. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to, instead of satin area, I'm going to tell it to pattern fill it. And I'm going to say okay. Much better. How much better does that look? So much better. Just that simple thing. Same with this. Oops. Same with this right here. You find out what you want, right click on it, choose properties, and then instead of satin area, I'm going to choose pattern fill and say okay. Oh my gosh, so much better. Properties, pattern fill. Okay. All right. So this, I showed you a little taste of this so that you're not horribly discouraged that you can't just stick something in there and it looked beautiful. Again, guys, we will go over digitizing in full. We will take this design and do it. But because we're actually working on the simple basis of doing that, we'll come back to us doing a design into the Express Design Wizard and then taking it back out. There's a much easier way to do this. And I know, and I would prefer showing you that in the digitizing module versus this, because there is a better way. But I did want to show you that if this was how you wanted to do it, you can take it into your digitizing module and start editing in there as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that. It's going to take all those changes and put them directly into my hoop. All right, but we're going to say goodbye to her. All right, Express Design again and design in the hoop, embroidery. So we've showed you pretty much all of those. I'm pretty sure this duck actually turns out pretty good. The less amount of details, the better. So here's the pretty, I mean, this design is really, this artwork is really basic. And if you hit next, it should turn out pretty good. Like I said, anything that's really basic should do really good. Again, it has the appropriate number of colors. Hit next. And there you go. That's a pretty decent, quick design. Quick Create, or the Express Design Wizard, did a fairly good job. There's a few tweaks that I would do, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So there are some designs that it just cannot be detailed, guys. You cannot take a detailed logo with lettering and things like that and use Express Design. It's just not going to work. Okay, Express Trace. So Express Trace takes the outside of a design and creates just a line artwork from it. We'll take the duck. We're going to go ahead and say next. Oh, by the way, guys, sorry. It was back. You just hit your back button a couple of times to get back to here. I know I move fast, so I just clicked on the back button, got back to here, chose Express Trace, and then next. And then we're going to leave our duck up there if you grabbed him, and we're going to say next. Okay, it's going to do, we want to do find outline. Now, see how it does this really, really weird thing. And expanding it does not help. So we're going to go ahead and say next. And I'm doing this for a reason. These types of designs do not work well with trace. Okay, so notice that it just put its eye. So we're gonna go ahead and we are going to start moving our slider until the rest of our duck appears. Now again, this is supposed to be a trace and it pixelated the lines. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing it pixelized. So we're gonna hit next and it looks crummy and hit next again. I'll wait for it. Okay, it says the following problem because they're too thick to be traced because it's seeing all these weird pixel indentions. So it doesn't like it and it turns out terrible. Trace does not work well unless it's an actual line design. So we're going to go ahead and hit back again, back again, back again, and again until we get to load picture. We're going to choose load picture. Should be back to where we are. We're going to choose that flower. It is a line design, so obviously it should work really well. And we're going to say okay. And let me tell you, it does. This is one thing this software does really well, or this, not this software, but this aspect of the software does really well. It does line drawings so easily. We're going to hit next. We're going to do find outline, which it did. We only need to do it one time. You can do two where it's nice and thick, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to say next. Looks great. Everything's shown. Hit next. We're going to stay with that hoop. Next. Okay. There it is. It looks great. You can do a quadruple trace. Still looks great. Satin line looks pretty good. You can do your stitch options and we can make it thicker and the density less. Or I guess more, a little smaller number. The only thing I don't like on this one is these points. That would be my one thing that I did not like about that. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. On this one, I think I would probably go with the quadruple trace. It'd be a great little thing you could do on a quilt block or something like that. Anyway, looks great, worked great. I'm not going to go ahead and hit finish because I don't really want it in my hoop per se, but this is what it looks like. This is how it would look, and I think it looks great. Okay, so we're going to go back until we get back to load picture, and we're going to do one more. These, let's do the bite just to see what it does, just because it's funny. Next, it found its outline, hit next. The bike actually didn't turn out too bad. Well, I guess we're not there yet. Hold on. I think this one's not going to do too horrible, actually. Let's go with that. Hit next. Hit next. It's going to... Okay, guys, that didn't turn out horrible. You could actually edit that up and modify it to fix it up a little bit. The handlebar at the top is a little wonky and the flowers didn't come out. But for the most part, it did do the nice the shape of the bike. It didn't do any of that weird pixelating thing. So I would say this one was more of a success than, let's see if we change the sensitivity. You do get a little bit more detail, but I don't think it helped a lot. But for the most part, it didn't do bad. I, of course, would have liked to have seen it be better. Let's see what happens. Next. Put a little of the flour in there, but you definitely can't tell. It did clean up the spokes. The spokes got cleaned up a little bit. I don't like the roundness of it, but it did clean it up a little, and it does look, it has more detail to it. I think our picture options are on high. Let's drop to medium and see if what happens. Okay, that failed. But But do you see how you can kind of like play with everything a little bit and you can get different results? And there's our bicycle back. So that one didn't turn out horrible. So we're going to go ahead and hit back again, until we get back to the very main menu. And this time we're going to do create express border. Create express border lets you do an applique, satin line, or motif stitch, running stitch, all those other types of things. Trace made you only do running stitch, quadruple stitch, and satin stitch. This lets you do that motif as well, and applique. All right, we're gonna hit next. Bike, I will tell you right now, is not gonna work. Okay, so, but the duck will work, and we're gonna say okay. Next, next. We're gonna up his ante. Oops. Okay, so he would have to be almost done in parts. So there's his beak. And there's his wing. Oops. And his body. So this one would basically get you the outline, but we want the beak and that wing to be separate. Okay, so let's do this one first. Okay, say next. We're going to leave that as it is. Next. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. And I'm going to go ahead and say finish. Okay. Then I'm going to go back. Create express border. You might be wondering why I'm doing this, and it's so that I can get his body. I want his body. And next. And next. And then finish. Oh, they're two different sizes. That did not work. His beak looks way better though. His beak looks way better. All right, let's leave this. Okay, this is what happens when you do things on the fly. Okay, express design into hoop. Create express border. Next, little picture. Okay, so there's his eye. We want his body first. Okay, there's his body. Next. Into its hoop. Next. Okay, finished. So there's his body. Again, I would probably go in to create and separate his beak and his head from each other. But for this little project, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Express design into hoop again. Express the border. Next. Load picture. Go grab us our duck. Okay, now we need that wing. Oops, back. We need that wing. Oops, there's something. Okay, there's our wing. We're gonna hit nope. Next. Okay, we're gonna put it in that hoop. Say next. All right, and we're gonna hit finish. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna jump to modify, and it's gonna fix the stitches, which is just fine. All right, so there's the beak and the wing. So the wing is fine. I want to get rid of the beak, so I'm going to go box select, and I'm going to draw a box around the beak, and I'm going to hit delete. I am going to draw a box around the eye, and I'm going to hit cut. And then I'm going to go to the tab. And I'm going to say paste. And I'm going to move my little eye into place. Okay. The wing, don't like it like that, so we're going to go back to the wing is the only one that's chosen, and we're going to go to modify, and we're going to box select that little sucker. Actually, let's go back to the home tab. Because it's already separated, we can, oh, I'm going to go get rid of that line. Did that line exist earlier? Probably. Modify, I'm going to get rid of that line. Select stitches. I'm going to drag you down here. There we go. Okay, whenever you have that weird stitch, if you just click on the very end of it and drag it to where it starts, it goes away. So I'll show you. So here's your weird line. Select stitches, select at the very top of it, grab it, and drag it down to where it came from. And that makes it go away. And we're gonna go home. Okay, so here's that weird wing, and it's too big. So I'm gonna hit the Shift and Control key on my keyboard, and I'm gonna shrink that down. All right, there's my duck applique. Again, in all honesty, I would have taken this in to create. I would have done my beak. I would have done every step like it should have been done. But in this instance, it is what it is. And if you wanted to do a quick little applique, you could do that. Now, one that works really well is basic ones. Express border. There's these flower petals. I don't know if they're flower petals or eggs, or, I mean, you could use them for whatever you want. But say, okay, very basic. Next, next. There they are. Next. Leave them in that hoop. Next. They turned out perfect. Absolutely perfect. You could up your density a little bit, drop that down to a lower number, which increases the density, and they get thicker. I probably make them a wider. Satin stitch 2 is pretty low. Let's go 3.5. Say okay. There you go. And you have a perfect applique. Super easy. So if you've kind of figured it out, the simpler the picture is, the better the outcome is. If it's a difficult or lots of parts, it takes more effort to get a good stitch out. So again, create express embroidery with this one. Next, next. All those colors. This is going to be that outside color that you see around them. Next. Perfect. You could change, I think this might change that to satin around the edge. Ooh, let's try doing it for. No, it will not change to a satin line. I was thinking it might, but it doesn't. Pretty basic. You know, that turned out really great. You know, you could totally use that. Finish. Let's get rid of this duck. I'm going to click on it, hit Control or Shift, hit the last one, delete. You can fix the stitches, properties, modify the size. It does not let you change the pattern fill. Did that? Hold on, I'm gonna go back really quick. Whoops, create, express design, hoop. Next, blue picture. Next. I'm going through this really quick. I want to see something. No, it doesn't. I was seeing if it let you alter your pattern fill on here. It doesn't. So we're going to go ahead and cancel. Okay, but what you can do is select it, edit in digitizing. And up they pop. I personally don't like this line around it. So we can come in here and we can select the color, which is that blue color. Soldier blue to be exact. Should be anyway. And then delete, and that's going to take that away. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, that's weird. So we don't want this either. So click on that, hit Shift, get rid of all that, and delete. All right, now you have just 3 eggs or flower petals. I'm using them as eggs. Okay, we're going to hit Pattern Fill 3, right click on it, say Properties, and I'm going to choose a different pattern. There are so many patterns. This is so fun. I can spend hours doing this. Okay, there's that pattern. Right click on the next one, the blue one, Properties, And I'm going to come in here and let's see, let's do this one for that one. Say okay. There's that one. And then right click on the green one and properties. And then we will do, what do we want to do? Oh, let's do this one. Oh, let's do this one. This little sunflowers, pattern 157. Say okay. And there we go. So those would be super cute Easter eggs. In fact, once they're there, we could put them down here. Rotate them. Okay. Let's move this one over. All right, and then you could add some grass down here, and you could have 3 little eggs sitting in the grass. You could add a basket. You could put them in a basket. You could do whatever you wanted, and there's some quick, easy, simple little Easter eggs you could do. That is kind of what you can do. You can use, what I love about mySewnet is number one, it's very user friendly in my opinion. Like I said before, I do have a professional grade software, and I find myself using mySewnet more often. I really do. I feel that it's easier. I don't know if it's just because I'm what I'm used to, but and I love how they've integrated switching between the different designs, making it so much easier. So watch what happens now. So we took our eggs from Express Design Wizard in the main module. We opened them into digitizing. Now we're going to close this module. It's going to put them into my module. This time I'm going to right click again, and this time I'm going to do fix as stitches. So now they are set as stitches, no more. So now we could go in here to Super Design, and let's see if we can find something. Oh my gosh, a bunny. Okay, I might be using the bunny. I might be using that bunny. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Undo. I don't want to fix them as stitches yet. Okay, remember what I said. If they have green boxes, we can size them as long as, because they are not stitches. So I'm going to leave them that way because I just had an idea. Do you guys see I wonder if there's a basket. Sometimes I wish this was live. I don't see a basket. I want a basket. mySewnet people, we need a basket. Oh, how about okay, we're going to use oh my gosh, a wheelbarrow. Okay, and we're going to increase the size to 100 millimeters, and we're going to say apply. Okay, we need to change our, that is a big design. I forget, size is your height, not your width. That is really big. That is not going to work. Okay, hold on. Let me change it to, let's go half that. Okay, we'll do 60. Okay, that's better. Not perfect, but better. Okay, so we'll put them in here, and then we're going to grab our eggs. Okay, and we're going to shrink our eggs down. Now, remember, this is an applique, so we're good. Okay, and here we go. Here's our little eggs in our wheelbarrow. How cute is that? I'm thinking that the wheelbarrow might be a little too big with this satin stitching. Let's see here a second. Satin column. Let's decrease this up. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so now we have utilized a few things in the software. We took our create tab, our create tab. We did our Express Design Wizard. We did our eggs. We took those into our digitizing module. We changed them from the pattern that they were to a different pattern fill. And then we added we added a wheelbarrow from Super Designs, and we put our eggs in the wheelbarrow. Because they're so vibrant, let's change them to some vibrant Easter colors. Okay, so that goes a little bit more with the wheelbarrow. All right, guys. So that's kind of some of the things you can do with the software. I hope at the end I didn't go too fast because we did jump a lot. Um, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. And like I said, Express Design has its place. Um, I'm just not real fond of it. You can do the exact same thing we just did in digitizing, basically the same way, which we will show you. But for today, I hope this helps you get some creative ideas and get started. I do have projects and free designs on Stitching with Stephanie on Facebook, and you can also like me on Instagram. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe for your next lesson, which should be next week. And I hope you guys have a great day.